So I did like 43 odd internships in the entire
43 internships.
in second year.
Oh, wow. You've invested in 60 startups till date. Just tell me 2 or 3 startups that are your favorite portfolio startups at the moment. So there's only two kinds of people in the world. People who understand what interest is and they earn interest, and those people who don't and they end up paying interest.
And third one is also there.
Which is?
People who ran away.
People who run away. Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Cashvisory's podcast. I'm Utkarsh, the co-founder, and we are on a mission to empower every single young investor to reach their first investment. We have a very special guest here today. We have Rishav, and Rishav is the founder and CEO of Picxele. And believe it or not, he's reached 10 crores in revenue as a bootstrapped company. That's pretty amazing. And also, Rishav is just 27 years old, but he's done 60 angel investments. Rishav, amazing journey that I'm sure you've had, and we'd love to learn so much more about it.
Thank you so much, Utkarsh.
Thank you so much for joining us as well.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Right, my pleasure. So, Rishav, let's get to right at the start of your career in college, right? So, what did you sort of end up studying, and what got you interested in startups in the beginning of your career?
Okay, so I hail from Asansol. It's in West Bengal. So 2015 was the time I completed my 12th. I came to SR University, Chennai. It was very clear for me that I'm not going to crack IIT because I was not studying for it. I knew that I will go to a private college.
Right.
So that was my first aim. So, but yes, I knew that after taking science, we'll only have the option of doing engineering.
Right.
Most of the cases. So that's where I ended up doing IT engineering SRM from 2015. During that time, obviously, not everyone knew that what is startup.
Right.
For me, 2016 was the time when I first saw that someone was booking something on mobile and cab was coming.
Right.
I realized, what is this? We never saw. I'm here from, it's a tier 2, tier 3 city.
Right.
The time from where I came from. Nothing was there. Even purchasing online was something called as fraud during that time. That
Wow.
things will come not in a proper way.
Right.
Now people got educated. Obviously, a lot of things are there. So that was the time. So first year was much more focused towards studies.
Right.
I was good at studies, obviously. All the 4 years, decent, not good. So all the 4 years, I didn't had a backlog, whatever I did in the entire 4 years.
Nice.
So first year, I focused on that. Second year, when I went to second year, I started doing internships.
Right.
So that was the time the focus of mine got shifted. I was doing engineering, but I was never into programming or coding actually. First year was
Right.
basic subjects. In engineering, first year is the basic subjects.
Correct.
So that's when the second year I did internship. The first internship which I joined was in the marketing domain. I did that. I enjoyed. Then I applied for all random internships which I saw on the internet.
Right.
Because during that time, 16, 17 was the time people used to hire interns. That is called unpaid interns.
Unpaid
during that.
internship.
And it was campus ambassador programs.
Right.
Or you talk about campus ninjas, all those things. So I did like 43 odd internships in the entire
43 internships.
in second year.
Oh, wow. That's
So
crazy.
that was the time I did all kind of internships apart from one domain, that was engineering.
Right.
Or the IT domain. So I never had an internship in any of the technical background interns if I talk about.
Right.
So from there I understood the problem that companies do face problem or difficulties in finding interns from colleges
Right.
to manage them or to pick up their, monitor them and give them rewards, all those things.
Right.
So it was a tedious process. For me as being a student, it was very disheartening also sometimes that I was working for some companies. I was not getting paid on time.
Right.
It was all unpaid maximum. That is okay. It was learning was the process. That was okay. That was not the primary goal.
Right.
But yes, many companies used to ghost after getting the work done. So that was the scenario. I was a bit disheartened. I had a couple of friends during this time from different colleges in India, mostly from Delhi side. So I made a group, 100, 200 folks. I went to 1 or 2 companies that I will get your work done.
Right.
Mostly their work is like something they call as app promotion, or you talk about promoting their stuffs on social media,
Yep.
on college groups, in college campuses. So this was the work actually. So I told him, I will get your work done. I have people. You just need to pay me. You need not worry that to whom I am paying and how
Right.
much. And your cost will be same. All the headache of managing people will go off.
Got it.
I did this for 1 year. That was entire third year if I talk about. Kept on doing for fourth year initial also. Did around like 20, 30 lakh rupees of revenue via this.
Amazing.
Saved some money. Then I realized that I can only do work for 5 or 6 companies at a time. It's a manual process.
Right.
I'm sending work in WhatsApp groups. People are sending me the proof via DMs.
Right.
My WhatsApp was filled completely. I realized that Google Sheets and WhatsApp is okay. I need to make a product.
Right.
So that's why I went back again to basic. I made a survey form. I saw that who else in the India does this kind of a task-based kind of a model on app. So that's why I thought that let's make an application. But I wanted to be 100% sure because I didn't opted for placements.
Right.
Because third year end, you need to opt for a placement.
Right.
So I didn't opted for the placements. So I had to be sure that if I'm doing this, it needs to be correct.
Right.
So I did a survey with around 4,500 folks across India. Some were from college, some friends, etc., XYZ people. So I thought that yes, this need is there.
Right.
That people want to do task in their free time. If they get some free extra money, that's nothing harm. Everywhere in India, if you are a second year or first year or third year student, you want to earn money.
Right.
During that time, if I talk
Absolutely.
about. And it was peak moment of that particular time, where fancy stuffs were not there. 18, 19 if I talk about. 2018 December was the time I thought that we'll make an application after doing all this. Made that application. I completed my college in May 2019. June 2019 was the time we launched Picxele.
Right.
And it's post that the entire different phase of the journey is there for the Picxele.
Wow.
So that's how the Picxele came into existence.
Yeah. Wow. That is really amazing. And I think the first point that was, a shocker for me was 43 internships in 1 year, right? So how did you manage that, first of all? That's my first question.
So see, what used to happen during that time, as I said, not all internships which you see today as of now needs that much of your skills.
Right.
On so much of your time. During that time, people used to hire interns in bulk.
Right.
For campus ambassadors mainly. Now campus ambassador programs is not that popular in India.
Right.
During that time it was. So every company used to do that.
Right.
Finding social media interns, finding content writing interns. So they used to get this type of interns mostly.
Very interesting.
Promoting their product, promoting their apps in the colleges, getting their app promoted, getting their app downloaded, all these things.
Right.
So now actually this has been reduced because there are so many agencies. There are so many companies like us to whom companies can outsource.
And
we can manage all the process. So now the companies are not taking headache on themselves. Doing 43 internship now, which will be difficult as compared to 2016. So it's like we talk about 8 years back. So, and the work was not that tedious we talk about. You need to put 1 hour a week. You can do any time. It's a simple kind of a work. So that's where. So it was 43 different companies. In some companies I did internship for 6 months, 1 year, some for 1 month. 2 months. So it was kept on doing it.
Super interesting. And the other thing that stood out in your entire journey is how you did sort of micro experiments. You started off, you saw a problem, you saw a need, you started doing that manually on WhatsApp, you saw that it's actually getting you revenue, right? And from there you actually transitioned that, okay, there is really a need, you're being able to generate revenue even offline manually. And then you decided, okay, we should build a product. So I think this is an amazing playbook to bootstrapping. Right?
Correct.
And
we need to have revenue actually.
Exactly. You need to have revenue from day one.
Day one.
And you need to find a way to get that revenue and then eventually make that scalable.
Correct.
So I think pretty amazing. And then tell me, like, once you got into the scalable phase and once you had your app out there, what has the journey been since then? Because you could have sort of raised funds and rounds after that. So did you choose to consciously not raise funds after that? And what was the decision?
It had a complete different story. So what happened, May was the time when I completed my college. But March I went to Noida actually. So I realized that most of the people I know, most of the users also I will be knowing in future will be from the Delhi NCR region. Because all the maximum connects were from there. Client were also from 70% were from Delhi NCR. I thought this is a nice location, Noida. And obviously, geographically and economically it is good. It was good. So I moved there and I moved before college itself completing. So then 1 year actually, that was before the corona came. Around March 2020, we had only 10,000 users.
Right.
So August, September, October, I was pitching investors, okay? I used to send deck to everyone. All random people actually. People who are not investors also, to them also I used to send. So that was my first mistake, which I realize now, that why people were not replying. So what happens, this is also mindset of a founder actually. Today, if you are a founder of, say suppose 19 years old founder, you are sending me a deck, I am not replying, you will start giving me slangs.
Right.
I used to also think in that particular process that this person is not replying. But I realized later that I used to write story in my deck. It was content, only content.
Correct.
I had revenue, I had decent revenue. That FY19 we closed at around 36 lakh rupees before I completed my college. So that was, I had revenue. We had 5,000-6,000 users, initial users. We had the proof of concept, market was there, everything was there.
Nice.
The thing was that two answers were coming to me in terms of when I was getting rejected in terms of raising money. One was good team. Secondly, obviously, again, they want to see someone having a good pedigree from as a founder.
Right.
During that time, it was very critical.
True.
If you
IITs
see,
and IIMs.
correct. So they wanted to see that pedigree.
Right.
80% people told me that you don't have a pedigree, you don't have a team, you don't have experienced people in the team. So I realized that we might not be good fit to raise money. So that year passed on. Corona came. We went back home in my Asansol, West Bengal. So I stayed there for 2 years. That year, actually, when the Corona came, that year 2020 and 2021, which we say as FY21, we got around 3 lakh users.
Right.
Organically.
Amazing. Oh, wow.
And we did around like 3.5 crores of revenue during that year.
Fantastic.
When every company were like facing difficulties, we see a glory during that time. The reason being two things. One, everyone wanted to earn money while sitting at home.
Right.
So our app ranked very high when you used to search earn money or task, something like this.
That
so
makes
it was organically, it was good search. And some people started making reels for us organically and got distributed.
Oh, wow.
So that's where we got lots of user. And that's where actually we got lots of companies also and good clients, etc. So that year went nice. Second, post that also FY22, kept on doing it. We got around next 2 lakh users. So kept on growing decently.
Right.
And then 2023 was the time we slowed down a bit. FY24, I was paused actually if I talk about FY24.
Right.
We were rebuilding the application. So 4 years, when 4 years completed, that was around June 2023 when 4 years got completed. So we had around like 7.5 lakh users.
Right.
We did around like cumulative revenues of around 8.5 to 9 crores of revenues in total. That year I was experimenting. Next phase of Picxele, what I can do.
Right.
So that's where we started different kind of models in Picxele. And I thought that we'll make our app again because we made the first version. We never iterated a single feature. We never moved a button from here to there.
Oh, wow.
Because we never had a tech team. So my tech cost was, you say about it was negligible.
Right.
Only for OTBs I was paying.
Okay.
Server was free.
Nice.
Hosting was free. Everything was free.
course.
We get credits.
Yeah.
So that was done. So all 4 years we never moved anything. So then I realized that it's time to make a new app. August I started building again the second version of Picxele. January 2022 we relaunched.
Right.
Past 3 months again we got around 1.5 lakh of users.
Nice.
3 or 4 months, and now we are a total of 9 lakh users in the application with around 35,000 of monthly active users on our application.
Amazing.
Who are into semi-skilled gig workers and skill-based also. Skill-based gig workers, we work on the project basis on different kind of things.
Right.
So that's the entire journey of Picxele.
Okay, that's really inspiring, I would say. And you know, the kind of sort of for you to be there at the right time. Obviously, timing plays an important role,
Correct.
right? But outside of that, all the groundwork that you'd done before that was instrumental in leveraging that time for yourself. But building into this, because you mentioned that as a youngster right out of college, fundraising is also an art. Right? It's something that you need to learn. Like we also closed our fundraise just recently, our pre-seed round. And you know, of course, we were making mistakes early on with our reach outs as well, right? And one thing, as you said, storytelling. You need to be able to
story.
Yes, you need to be able to convey your story in an effective manner so that people totally understand what you're trying to do. So I think very important and interesting learning for anyone looking to do fundraisers. But if I were to ask you, put you on the spot and ask you let's say if you were to restart Picxele, and let's say now that you've learned how to do fundraise, would you still do it bootstrapped or would you raise funds in the early days?
So I just missed one part. 2021 actually, when we had a good year actually of 2021, yeah. Around May, June, we got lots of interest from investors.
Right.
So what happened, this market grew a lot during this Corona gig economy market.
Yeah.
So the reason being is obviously market size grew.
Yeah.
And there were players, but most of the players who were long registered in the market, they were funded.
Right.
We were only one who were not raised money, anything. So we got a lot of interest. In 2 months, I got around like decent amount of interest in terms of money.
Right.
But then I thought that but during that year itself, I started investing also. I saw the other phase of the startups where as an investor also I saw this phase. 2 startups I invested by that time. I thought that I'm not going to send this financial reports to anyone on every month. It's not going to happen with me. So I thought that was only one major trigger point. Second trigger point was that you might not find all investors are good investors in your company. If you have 15 investors, 1 or 2% will trouble you a lot. It is the reality.
Right.
They don't understand. They might fail to understand something. They will ask some questions to you which doesn't make sense.
Right.
I thought that I cannot put my energy into that. I am a single founder.
Right.
I need to focus on my business.
Absolutely.
You know that raising money plus managing investors is a full-time job.
It is a lot of work. Agreed.
First you raise money, then you manage them. I'm if I manage my business, I will manage the investors. So that was the main triggering point that I can do like this. I need not build 100 crore rupees of revenue or 1,000 crore of a company.
Right.
I just want to be a decent company where I can earn a good bread butter for me. And that was the only point. Post that, I never looked for funding.
Right.
The question which you asked just now, that if I see this particular model which I am running, it doesn't require funding until unless you want to do some very different kind of experiments.
Right.
So personally, in this model, I don't want to do much of the experiments. I know that this is working. Some of the new kind of a work which we introduced, that is okay. But I don't want to experiment a lot actually in this model. But yes, down the line, if I do something else which is completely like into B2B kind of a model, which is a SaaS, which is a tech-driven product, which I know that this can grow a lot and this can become a 1,000 crore company or a 10,000 crore of a company.
Right.
I might think. But in this model, I am not raise money, or this company will not raise.
Right. That's I think a very important point that you highlighted, and I think for a lot of young startup founders who are looking to make that decision, I think this is what they can use to decide. For us, I think it came down to the second point that you made, which was we saw the market opportunity and we needed to act rapidly. And obviously, in order to act rapidly, you need funds. Plus, we are in financial services and fintech, where the professionalism of even your first version of your app needs to be at a certain level for you to build that credibility and trust with our users, right? So those were reasons why we decided to raise our rounds. But I do see the pros and cons of both the sides of the coin, which is very, very interesting.
And most important point is like most of the founders don't realize that you should raise money or you should not raise money.
Yeah.
It's just because you need money, you will raise money.
Raise money, correct.
So that's the main part actually, which I feel sad.
Yeah.
Now also today it is not changed. We say that 2024 market is changing. Still I get messages. 90 people will text me on LinkedIn. 80 people will be like that. They don't know what they're doing.
Right.
I need funds. This is the only message. So where you realize that this still that particular kind of mindset is needed, that raising money is not the end of the game.
Absolutely.
It's the more starting actually.
It's the starting point.
It's a starting point. You will have n number of problems after that.
Agreed. So yeah, that and that's a very important point. Like your fundraise can't be your objective. Your fundraise is your starting point to help you achieve your objective, which is a great way to think about things. Now, you also mentioned that you've shifted to the other side of the coin, other side of the table, I should say, that you're an angel investor, and you've invested in 60 startups till date, which is a phenomenal number to me, by the way. So first of all, what got you interested into investing in startup as an asset class, and tell me a bit more about your methodology of how do you go about doing it.
So the first investment I did was January 2021. So if you see that in just 1.5 years since I completed my college, I invested in a startup.
Right.
And that was the most riskiest class which I talk about.
Exactly.
Before that, I never invested into mutual funds.
Right.
I not have a FD.
Right.
I never did a stock market investment. Any NSC, nothing.
So startup was your first
investment. You can say that my company was my investment. That is very different.
True.
That is very different. But in terms of other assets, it was my first investment.
Right.
So I didn't do that. So what happened actually, I saw that some sectors which used to excite me a lot, like fintech, edtech was one of them during that time, 2021.
Right.
So first company I invested was an edtech company itself. So they are doing a lot good.
Right.
They're a profitable, good company.
Nice.
So they are doing very decently nice. So that was my first company. I like the founder. I like the way they are building it. And from there, I understood that, yes, this is something which I can do where I can help founders.
Right.
Second investment I did, like I knew a particular person. I was in his group or his WhatsApp community for a year actually. When he said that I'm raising money, we are doing this, I said that I know you, I can invest in you because that bond is there. That is second thing. From there, actually, initial 7-8 investments I did in a company where I know the founders.
Right.
Either they were my friends, they were people who came to me, they were telling about themselves. I invested in such companies.
Right.
So two things I see a lot in one particular thing is like people don't take me because I'm giving money to them. The reason being I cannot give them 10 lakh rupees, 15 lakh rupees as a single check size.
Yep.
I will hardly give 1 lakh, 2 lakh rupees as an individual angel investor based on my capacity. Why they are taking me is the secondary thing. I can help them in different ways.
Right.
Like be it marketing. I did grew my company a lot in terms of bootstrap with a no marketing cost if I talk about, and other aspects in the business wherever they require. From there, actually, I started investing. From there, I started writing about investments, etc. on major LinkedIn. From there, 2022 was the time and 23 was the time. I used to get lots of DMs, like 100 200 DMs a week sometimes,
Oh, wow.
a month also, 400 500. I used to see that what is happening. From there I used to talk to someone, early stage startups. When I used to talk to early stage startup, I see two things again: the zeal of the founder,
Yeah.
and if I'm not giving him money, how does he react?
How does he react?
Whether he is able to be in touch with me or not. So
Hmm.
there are around 7 to 8 companies I invested after 7 months, making them wait.
Right.
And I was the first investor.
Got it.
I never invested in those companies because I thought that they are going to raise some money more. I knew that 1 or 2 companies will get shut down.
Hmm.
I knew it from the day one.
Right.
Because I didn't want it to break their faith actually.
Hmm.
They were in touch with me. They were doing something. They were, even after struggling, they were kept on continuing their startup.
Right.
By putting all their money, doing extra XYZ work, putting that money also. Some companies are invested like that. So main is founder actually.
Right.
Even if the market doesn't support him sometimes, if the founder is good now, something or other he will do.
Right.
Even that company doesn't work. Tomorrow when the company starts now, that founder will always remember me.
Right.
That he has helped me during that day. Today, if I'm doing something good, I'm gonna appreciate him.
Right.
It happened with me with one other person. So that's where actually it's more about because I am the first founder first, rather than I'm not an investor actually.
True.
I'm first the founder.
Not so
then.
much a financial investor, but more focused on
Correct.
helping the ecosystem.
So that's where mostly came, and post that actually where I got good opportunities, I kept on investing.
Right.
So mostly in the early stage startups, 70% are like first rounds or second rounds.
Got it.
30% will be on the later stage rounds, which I invested via SUVs and RUVs, all those things.
Got it, got it. No, and again, very, very interesting. And you talked about the initial investments that happened was more through your own community, was people that you knew and trusted, right? And you're giving them your hard-earned money, you already have a rapport with them, so that makes complete sense. But then as you got closer to the number of 60, right, do you do still mostly sort of this on an individual capacity, or do you also work with some angel networks and do investments through those?
So what happens actually, last I invested in November 2023. Post that I stopped investing.
Right.
The reason being I put again all my money in my company to
Right.
build the version 2, grow the company. I wanted to keep a surplus money also with me as a saving.
Right.
And so that was the most important point. From there actually now what happened to some of the companies where I invested or I'm looking to invest, I have a group of people actually. To them I forward the particular deals. If someone is interested, I get them connected. I'm not running any kind of networks. I'm not running any kind of thing. I don't want anyone, any percentage from anyone.
Right.
I just connect them if I'm an investor over there. Some startups I'm advisor also.
Right.
So to them I need to help.
Yeah.
So when they are raising, I just send their decks to everyone. Whoever is interested, make them connect. And from there the founder will take it forward.
Got
It's
it.
more about connecting the people, the right set of people, finding the right set of partners for them. So that is where they come and tell me that this is where I am looking for in terms of connecting with this particular company.
Right.
I said if I don't know this, I will drop somewhere in the groups. Someone will know, they will connect you.
Right.
So that's how the things works.
That makes a lot of sense. And you also talked about the point of being a strategic investor. That means apart from the money, bringing the other pieces and things which I feel like hold a lot more value, right? Those sort of connects, that sort of expertise, the fact that you've been there, done that is incredibly invaluable to early stage founders. So that's awesome. Wanted to just, I know you said that you're not a financial investor, so to say. You're doing this to help out the ecosystem. But if you were to look at startup as an asset class, as a financial investor as well, how do you look at it? Because like I see a lot of young people that want to explore startup as an investment option. So how should they go about it if they're keen to do it?
See, I also look at it as a asset class only. That is the only reason I invested in so many companies.
Right.
See, if even everyone who wants to invest in a startup, they need to be very clear that they need not invest in 1 or 2 startups.
Correct.
They need to build a portfolio of 10, 15, at least, which I see. Because you know the percentage of successful is like 1%. If I talk about you get an exit,
Yeah.
10% startup getting successful.
Correct.
So that's where you need to understand that you need to invest in some 10 companies, 1 or 2 get successful, you get money like all recovered from that particular company if in case you are lucky enough.
Right.
So that's the only reason I invested in so many companies. Even if 30 gets shut down in 3 years also, first 3 years,
Yeah.
the people who are surpassing that 3 years, the probability of them growing is much more higher. The ones which I invested in 2021, they are doing good. If I talk about, they are doing decently good.
Right.
Some have raised 2 or 3 rounds after that.
Nice.
So those all things happen. So you need to understand that you need to put your time in terms of diversifying the fund.
Yeah.
Not only in one company, 10 to 15 companies at least over the year. If you have say 20 lakh rupees, you invest in like 10 or 8 or 10 startups. And obviously you need to have that credibility also.
Correct.
That you are investing in such a small amount that founders also taking you.
True that. True that. And that's a very good point that you mentioned. I think two things to take out from here for everyone is at a minimum invest in 10 companies, right?
Correct.
Because 9 out of 10 will probably not give you the returns. It's that one that will compensate for.
Exactly. That's
a
what
lot
I
of
did
those.
the calculation. So
Right.
that is needed.
That makes sense. And the second thing is obviously investing in startup is a long-term game.
Correct.
Right? You need to be patient. You can't be after the founder's life to give you an exit.
Exactly. One particular thing which I tell to everyone who asks me that I want to invest in startups, what shall I do? I said, whenever you invest in a startup, forget that money.
Forget that money.
You cannot count that money that you have that money in place.
Correct.
Suppose, for example, you invested in mutual funds,
Hmm.
FD, stocks.
Yeah.
For one time, you can count those money.
Absolutely.
Obviously, they are showing you tangible returns on percentage on some kind of a platform. Startups will not show you that.
True that.
Forget that money. Someday it comes, it's okay. Or else don't cry for that money.
Right.
So it's always better that I've removed those money from my life, actually, if I talk about. If I get some return back, it's a good thing for
Bonus.
me. But
Right.
I cannot consider them as a plus thing that I have this particular amount in my pocket.
Right.
So that's what.
No, totally agreed. And speaking of returns, so far in your young investing career with startups, have you had any exits so far?
So yeah, I had 5 exits.
Amazing.
There were small exits, like in between 1.5x to 3x.
Right.
7 to 8 startups got shut down.
Right.
So if I see the overall portfolio, which all got shut down in terms of money which is going off and money which is going as a capital gain to me, it
Right.
got balanced.
Balanced out.
So balanced as of now, like 50,000-60,000 will be up and down that I've not checked. But yeah,
Got
it's
it.
most of the balanced. So that's where I see. But there's so many companies who are still in the phase of like 8x, 10x of the money which I invested in the initial days.
Right.
Those are on paper as of now.
On
We'll
paper.
see someday it liquidate.
Right. That's pretty amazing. And this is one important point that we tell most young people, especially when they go into asset classes that are riskier, is when you're putting in that money there, assume that money is
Correct.
gone. Right. And only put the amount that you're okay to lose.
Exactly.
Right. So even you started startup investing as your first asset class, but that would not be traditionally something that we would recommend to most people. From a
Exactly.
financial
I
lens.
also don't invest.
Even
at
you
that level.
wouldn't, right?
So the reason is what mistake I did. Like initial startups, I invested a lot actually. Like check size were bigger, 3, 4,
Right.
5 lakh rupees sometimes. So I realized that I cannot put so much of money. I was
Right.
risking my money.
Correct.
I had initial money, the money which I made as a we talk about profit or whatever money I earned actually. During that time, I understood that I cannot invest all the money over here.
Right.
I still, if I talk about if I have invested 10 rupees overall in my entire life, from that 8 rupees have gone into startups investment.
Right.
So
Wow.
I will never recommend anyone to do that actually. Now,
Agreed.
if I say that, you need to split, even if you're investing in startups, 5 rupees you can do, 5 other asset classes.
Agreed.
The best way which I see actually.
That makes sense, and this relates to a portfolio management concept, which we call core and satellite.
Correct.
Right. So core should be more predictable.
Exactly.
Like mutual funds,
Mutual
index
funds.
funds, and then you have the satellite where you can take higher risk.
Exactly.
And you can only take that calculated risk because you have that core to fall back on.
Correct.
Right. So this is a very important concept for young investors who are looking to get into startups. Let's go a bit deeper into some of the startups that you invested into. Just tell me 2 or 3 startups that are your favorite portfolio startups at the moment.
So the first company which I invested was Vidyakul.
Right.
That is one of my favorite. Other companies are so many companies are there actually. The Crib is there, Zip Electric is there,
Right.
Drink Prime, all these companies are there. The younger companies which I say that Seri, then Commercia, and lot many companies are there. So these are the early companies which I invested.
Correct.
And like obviously super proud of them, what they are doing. Amazing founders, amazing friends, all this.
Right. And as part of your portfolio, do you have a particular industry or sector focus with your startups?
Mostly I've invested in fintech if I talk about.
Okay, interesting.
So the reason I understand fintech more on the B2B side.
Right.
If I talk about 2 companies which is doing a great actually, one is Tap Invest and other is Transbank.
Right.
Transbank, I work also with them as a consultant and most of the time
Right.
on a couple of things. So those 2 companies are doing amazing in terms of B2B which I have invested, I see, and other companies are also there. So fintech is one. Obviously then the second is D2C consumer space.
Right.
So that too holds the majority of the portfolio.
Got
But
it.
I'm not much more focused on like this sector I want to invest. But these 2 I understand a lot actually.
That makes sense. Yeah. So I mean, we even say this with someone's stock portfolio. If you're picking stocks, you're more likely to be right if you understand the space and the
Correct.
industry better. So I think that applies to startups as well,
Exactly.
which is totally valid. Now, I want to sort of leverage your expertise, because you're someone who did that concept of what we call, try everything out
Correct.
early in your career, right? I did that as well. I've done engineering to B2B sales, to B2C sales, to financial advisory, to see where my footing stands at the end of the day, right? So, and a lot of people, the concept of moonlighting is also becoming popular, where people are doing gig work, working on the side, just hustling, right? In that sense. So what would you recommend to someone early, young in their career, right? How should they go about doing this to build up their profile, build up their skills, and also find their way?
So as of now, also, if you are 18 or 19, focus on learning, because the time and the amount of learning you will have with like 1 or 2 years initial of your career, which will stay you for next 10 years.
Right.
From day one, what I see today as of now, people focus on money.
Yeah.
That if you're not paying me 10,000 rupees, other company is paying me 15,000 rupees, I cannot work with you. And you don't know a single kind of a work actually. Focus on working with people actually. That people can lead you to other different places also.
Agreed.
I have a very beautiful example. 2018, 19, all the people with whom I used to work with, 2024 still they work with me.
Wow.
The reason being is like I had a good bond with them. They knew me.
Right.
They went to 7 different companies during this time. One
Right.
person went to 7 different companies in 7 years.
Oh, wow.
All 7 companies came as a client to me. The reason being I had a good rapport with the particular person.
Right.
And I had a zero effort in terms of onboarding that client.
Very interesting.
Because he knew me, he knew the work, he will come to me only. So that's where you build your people network or the connection. Early people actually, students or
Right.
like people who are entering the colleges, they need to focus much more on learning actually. Even if you're not getting paid, it's okay.
Right.
Learn the skills. You understand that this is perfect for me. You can ask money after that.
True.
That is much more
Once you add
complementary,
value.
and we talk about it's more like value addition for the particular company.
Right. No, totally agree. And you also talked about the fact that there are unpaid internships, right? So we, from a employer's perspective, are totally against that, because
for me also,
Yeah.
I am against the internship.
Exactly. So if someone is sort of helping you out or adding value to your company in whatever shape or form, I think they should get paid.
Correct.
Whatever little amount that might be. But from the student perspective, I totally understand what you're saying. Like the kind of experience, the kind of exposure, the kind of work that you do is more important as opposed to how much you're getting paid so early on. So totally relate
Adding to that, it should not be exploitory.
Right.
People should not exploit you.
True,
So what happens
true.
actually, you are working with me for free actually. I will get to done any kind of work.
Right.
I feel like that I'm not paying you, I can do anything, whatever I want. That should not be there.
Right.
You need to have a good bond with the particular person. You need to understand that it's okay, I'm
Right.
learning over here. Similarly, the person should respect you that I'm not paying him or her, but still the person is working with me.
Right.
That day you will have a good bond with the person.
That makes complete sense. And let's go a bit deeper now into your investment portfolio. We understand the startup piece that you've done, but you also mentioned that now you've started investing into mutual funds, stocks. So could you throw some more light on what is your investment portfolio currently?
So 2022, I started investing in another asset class. If I talk about, did tried stocks, applied for a couple of IPOs,
Right.
got some IPOs also, and that's where I actually started investing stocks. But post that, I stopped in 2023 mid.
Right.
But other kind of investment which I did, like mutual funds, obviously, number one. Second, you call as PPF.
Yeah.
Third one is like post office NSC is there, which is 5-year scheme.
Yeah.
And these 3 are the major. Yeah, sovereign gold bond is there.
Yeah.
That is the 4th one which I had. And yeah, these are the 4 primary ones which I see.
Right.
FD I don't do.
Mhm.
Even if I do FD, I do that liquidate FD, which is a swipe in, swipe out.
Right.
If you're keeping your 10 lakh rupees in a bank account, you get a 3% of interest.
Correct.
In that, you will get 5.5 or 6 sometimes.
Absolutely.
Based on the interest what the bank is giving you.
Yeah.
So I do that actually. That even if the money is lying in the bank account, just do that. You can take out as many you want and you can put back in.
Right.
So that concept I do most of the times when I have like decent amount in my bank.
Liquid
So
cash.
Yeah. So that's where these are the major investments or the type of investment which I like.
Right.
Apart from that, I don't think I have done other thing. This is the 4 primary which I see.
Got it.
Sovereign gold bond is one thing which I have been investing in. Like it comes twice a year actually. Previous 4 times whenever it came, I did.
Nice.
So that I am making a habit actually.
Right.
Personally, I like a lot. I don't know what will be that much benefit or not, but I personally like it. I like that particular concept of
Yep.
owning a gold actually at
Gold
most
bond.
times.
No, true, and you know, I think sovereign gold bond is an amazing product.
Correct.
And we particularly like it because you're getting exposed to gold
Gold.
in your portfolio, but at the same time you get a 2.5% interest on top
Interest.
of that.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
a tax free.
It's
Additionally, after 8 years, you will get whatever rate is there in the market, you will get that.
Correct, absolutely. So I think that's a great product to get exposed to gold, right? So people basically have two avenues to invest in gold very easily. One is sovereign gold bonds, and the other one is gold ETFs.
Exactly.
So this is the good one. And you also talked about a lot of other assets like PPF, and you also said NPS, I believe.
NSC, National Savings Certificate.
National Savings Certificate. That's great. So you know, I want to focus on these two because as a startup founder, as someone whose inherent portfolio is risky, your business is risky, your other investments in startups are risky. So where do you see the importance of these safer certificates coming in to your portfolio?
So this NSC I invested in 2021. Okay. I think it was 2020 December, yeah.
Right.
So it was during that time itself when I finalized my first investment in the startup also.
Right.
So I saw that it is a 5 years lock-in.
Right.
I invested some amount and it is giving me a decent return if I talk about.
Right.
I see that 2025 I will get the money back. And it was a good, decent money. I thought that let's do it.
Right.
So that is one way of doing it. I've been doing this for past 3 years.
Nice.
So I try to do that. I see that 15 years is there. I can put 50,000, 1 lakh rupees at a time, and I
Right.
can just keep on doing it. So that I see it's safer. And you talk about that 80C is also getting covered.
Absolutely.
And additionally, 15 years later, you get the money back.
True that.
So I put that money, which I think that it's okay to block it.
Block it for that period of time. True.
So these two are that kind of thing which can look for.
That makes sense. And I see your approach as you're talking about it, right? I mean, there's some parts of your portfolio which are more for the near-term needs. I would call it your emergency funds cash,
Correct.
which you keep in that sort of a swipe in, swipe out sort of FD situation. Then you also talked about mutual funds that you have, which are liquid.
Liquid.
And you might be able to access that money anytime.
So that 50%, if I give you the example of
Yeah.
mutual fund also. So I have a 50% split.
Right.
One is 3-year schemes,
Mhm.
which is a long-term one.
Yeah.
Another was which we can liquidate
Liquid,
anytime.
correct.
So that's why I'm doing both the type, mostly keeping 50%.
Right.
The time when I need the money, because that's the fastest money which can access.
Agreed.
From all the money that I have invested, that's the fastest money.
Right.
From all the invest, because you cannot access PPF, you cannot
yeah.
access NSC,
Correct.
SGB, and startups.
Yeah.
That's the only money you can access.
Absolutely.
So I thought if I'm putting money in mutual fund, I need to do it in 50 percentage.
Agreed.
One which is getting locked for 3 years, other one which can.
Which is liquid.
Yes.
Yeah. So guys, like, you know, one important takeaway from what Rishav is saying is liquidity in your portfolio is very important. So make sure you have some part which you can access whenever you need it. So that's also pretty amazing. And Rishav, what about the sort of other aspects of your personal finances? Like, do you have other products like insurance? Do you believe in taking loans? What are your thoughts on those?
So loans actually I took recently while I was building Picxele 2.0.
Right.
I took. So that is okay. I believe in, that's not a problem. But I take from bank actually.
Right.
Most of the time I will prefer the bank.
Got it.
That is number one. You talk about insurance. Yes, I believe in. None of my parents actually believed in this health insurance.
Yeah.
2 years before I took the health insurance, a combined insurance with me and my parents. So I do believe in that. This is the second time I paid for the insurance.
Right.
So I'll be obviously keep on paying for the entire year, even if
Right.
I'm not getting any returns. That is one. In terms of insurance, there is second one is term insurance.
Term insurance. Yeah.
So I had a insurance till 60 years actually.
Nice.
But I'm paying them in 7
Got
EMIs
it.
also.
Limited pay.
Yeah,
Makes
so
sense.
because I want to clear that off. So 4
Right.
times I have paid already. 3 times I need to pay more.
Yeah.
So I believe that. Obviously, see, down the line, if you see that when I will become 60, example, it is a 1 crore rupees which you get if if a person dies actually.
Correct.
So that 1 crore during that time, if I die in 55, it's like 30 years later.
Yeah.
That 1 crore will be around, if I say due to inflation, it will be 20-25 lakh
Barely
rupees.
anything. Exactly.
It won't have that value.
Agreed.
But for me, as of now, if I think that it is okay to do that, I'm doing that.
Yeah.
But as an individual, you need to think on that perspective. Put that money into term insurance when you feel that this money is okay to lose, because
Agreed.
that money is going off.
Correct.
But health insurance is must to have.
Yeah.
I have seen so many scenarios in my home where we have put so much money in the hospitals.
Yeah.
We never had health insurance.
Right.
That day I understood that health insurance is important.
It's critical. Yeah.
Not for me, for my parents also.
Yeah. Totally agreed. And healthcare costs are skyrocketing now, right?
Correct.
It's no more that India has cheap healthcare.
And the day when you get into that particular trap of getting into the health, your health is not okay.
Yeah.
You will not think that it is of 30,000 or 30 lakh rupees.
Correct.
Everything will go off.
Everything will go off. And at that point, you won't be able to sign up for the insurance.
Exactly.
So yeah, that's a very important one. And also what you've done with term insurance is completely right. What you said is the value of that 1 crore, what it is today, it'll be much, much lesser 30 years later, right? So we say that personal finance is never a static thing. It's something that you need to keep reevaluating year to year, right? So maybe 10 years later, what you could do is once you have a family, once you have kids, you could potentially top it up, right? To make it 2 crores, 3 crores.
Exactly.
So it's something dynamic, but I'm glad you got started with this, right? Because most people miss out on starting off when they are young and healthy. So that's super critical. One more thing you talked about was loan. And I believe you were referring to business loan, if I'm not...
No, personal loan. I don't take business loan. Sometimes I take and I put that back again.
Got it. Right. So the main thing that we see in this generation happening is people use loans for consumption purposes. That becomes unhealthy.
Right?
Right?
That becomes very unhealthy.
Yes. So you should use loan only if you're using it for some productive sort of uses. So that
it can be like buying, if you want to buy a car, number one.
Exactly.
If you want to buy a home,
right.
I think that too is the major thing which people look for in terms of loan. Sometimes what major hurts actually, which I have seen in most of the cases, people are taking personal loan for the personal expenses.
Exactly.
That becomes a trap.
Agreed.
You get into that trap actually. I always say that you don't wait for your credit card bill on 20th. I pay it on first itself. The day when I pay the rent of my flat, I pay the credit bill also.
Right.
Why should I wait for that 20th?
Agreed.
Once I get into that credit card wala loop, that if I spend 1 lakh rupees, I can pay on 20th. Again, that loop will create from that 1 to 20th.
Agreed.
So that loop will keep. I don't want to create a loop of making repayments, or you talk about paying EMIs, all those things.
Yep.
It's better that you earn less, you pay less EMIs as possible.
Exactly.
Good EMIs are okay. But suppose you purchased a house, you're paying for 20, 30 years. It's okay. You're staying in that house.
Exactly.
I'm not paying rent, but I'm paying EMI.
Absolutely.
That is very much accountable if I talk about, or it makes sense also.
Makes sense.
For me also, nowadays I think that I'm paying rent. I could have paid EMI. But you
True.
need to have that good books also. You need to have that down payment thing also. Then you can do that.
Exactly. So definitely, buying a house can be an option much later in your life. And I think one thing that people need to realize about loans is that you're actually borrowing from your future self.
Correct.
So you need to make the payment at some point. So with interest somehow.
Exactly. So you cannot skip that.
You can't skip that part. So there's only two kinds of people in the world. People who understand what interest is and they earn interest, and those people who don't and they end up paying interest.
And third one is also there.
Which is?
People who run away.
Okay. So this is amazing conversation so far, Rishav. Now we're going to get into a very interesting segment of this conversation, which is the rapid fire round. Okay. So just answer these questions quickly and as briefly as possible. Okay. What's your one favorite finance or startup book that you've read?
So I never read a book.
Right.
I never read any book actually. The first book which I am reading as of now is Bhagavad Gita.
Oh wow.
From past 1.5 years I am not able to complete it, but I know that I will complete it. So
Amazing.
apart from that I never read a book.
Very interesting.
Till now.
Favorite Shark Tank India pitch?
So that startup name is Picxele. I am also investor over there.
Oh,
recently they came.
Oh,
so,
just yesterday. Okay.
Yes,
then we should
not yesterday. Like
it.
obviously they in this season only they came. The last episode of this season. Episode 50.
Amazing. The one startup that got away that you did not invest in and now you regret it.
So I don't want to name it.
Yeah,
let's leave it a secret actually.
Sure. No problem. Cricket or football?
Cricket.
Okay. What will your next business venture be?
So it will be completely B2B SaaS.
B2B SaaS.
I don't want to get either into B2C nor into B2B B2C. I've done both the phases.
Right.
Now completely into B2B.
B2B SaaS. Most important advice for a young professional in one sentence?
You need to be very much focused in your career and focus on learning. Rest all things will come.
Right. Coffee or tea?
Tea.
Okay.
But now I quitted both mostly.
Mostly. Caffeine free.
Mostly. Sometimes I drink obviously.
Right. And startups or blue chip companies?
Startups.
Right.
Till now I have done that most of them.
Right. Elon Musk or Mukesh Ambani?
Mukesh Ambani.
Okay. Travel to the future or travel to the past?
Future.
Okay. Nice. Amazing. This was absolutely amazing, Rishav. Thank you so much for taking out the time and coming chatting with us. I'm sure all the young people watching this episode will learn so much from this. And guys, if you found some value in this episode, do like, subscribe and share it with someone who might benefit from it. Thank you again, Rishav.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Absolute pleasure.